Welcome back for this second part of the Tinguely lunch tour, or welcome for the first time. We're starting in the middle of the show. My name is Margriet Schavemaker. I'm the curator of this show. I hear a lot of noise, and hopefully you too, of the work that is now moving. I'm here in a space that is devoted to the second exhibition that was organized by Tinguely in the Stedelijk Museum in 1962. It's called Dillaby here, and Dillaby comes from dynamic labyrinth. The year before, Tinguely had already organized a big retrospective of kinetic art in the Stedelijk Museum in 1961. And Willem Sandberg, at that time director, fell in love with Tinguely. And he was told, you can have the whole house in a way, come back to us. And what Tinguely did, he asked several friends, you see here a picture, of course his lover at that time, Niki de Saint-Phaal, and of course they became the Bonnie and Clyde of the art world, Daniel Spurry, Marcel Reyse, Robert Rauschenberg and Per Ultvedt. And together they transformed one wing of the museum into a dynamic labyrinth. And the idea was here you can see all kinds of leftovers and also the catalogue. And this is perhaps very nice because now you see here also what this labyrinth looked like. It was a sort of theme park or Luna Park in a way. You could shoot with paint, there was a tilted museum, there was a room filled with balloons, you could dance a twist alongside a swimming pool. The weeks in advance that were used by Tinguely and the other artists to build up this whole construction was documented by Ed van der Elske. And I have put here some photographs on the wall. Here you see Tinguely on the Waterloo Square with a little, getting all kinds of stuff that's left over there. You see Robert Rauschenberg installing his installation. Ed van der Elske also made a film, that's the sound that you're hearing. You hear now Sandberg explaining what he finds is so extremely important that he ridicules in a way, the exhibition ridiculed what a museum is about. It's fun, it is against the white cube, it is about interactivity, about playfulness. Look at also there, Sandberg standing in the shooting tent that Niki de Saint-Phaal has made. This is Willem Sandberg laughing. It was one of his last shows. The critics in the newspapers did not understand it all very much, so we've put a lot of reviews here also. And what I particularly like is in one of the vitrines we put all kinds of receipts and leftovers that we found in the archive. So you see the weeks that they were buying stuff here, like a Mexican sun hat, sunglasses, confetti, all kinds of these little leftovers, receipts. In a way, that was all that was left over of the show. Afterwards, only Rauschenberg took a part of the installation with him, and some of the artists also asked if they could get back the motors or some of the elements. But overall, it was a temporary installation and was meant to not be collected. You know, it was about that it was only a temporary event. And in that sense, critical of core museum value, which is that you want to acquire works, of course. So if you come here also, this is the installation you see here with the balloons that Tinguely himself made. And what I particularly like is Ad Petersen, who worked here at the Stedelijk Museum and facilitated the whole exhibition. He kept a diary of what all the artists were doing when they were constructing. And if you come here, hopefully you will, you really have to spend some time reading it. It's so funny because you see who is quarreling with who is resting, who is going to the hairdressers, who is taking a bath, who is working during the night. And these kind of documents, of course, shows that it's much more than only just an exhibition. It is, the whole process is, of course, relevant. Okay, now we're gonna skip one of the most beautiful rooms, but this one has already been in another live tour. So I want to show you a space that I really like. It contains a lot of the work that Tinguely made in the 60s and also later on using rags and rust. So that room could scare. You can push a button and it runs. The big thing in the middle, the méta2, I wanted to show you because after the two exhibitions that Tinguely had in the Stedelijk Museum, there was a long relationship, and in those years 13 of his works were acquired and they were all restored for this show. And the biggest one, or one of the biggest one, is this méthode. And there was a long time that it couldn't run anymore, but now it can. And I'm going to push the bottom. And just a small anecdote. I don't know if it's going to run, if we have time. Oh no, this one takes more than 70 minutes to do it again. But it's a great work, actually. It's called Radio de la Bie. So it's one of the very few leftovers of the de la Bie show that I just explained to you. And it's a radio, but it's of course totally, changed and altered and transformed. But it runs on AM frequency. And that is very hard to receive in the museum. But what the restoration department did, they put an AM transmitter in the pedestal. So it is actually able to run right now. But you have to come back to do that for yourself. Okay, we're going to go to the next room. Just a small glitch also to the video I put here down. He was always into the Basler Fastnacht, and so Carnival. He really liked this homo ludens, the idea of playfulness. And he designed suits for Basler Fastnacht. And often also when he had openings, like the méthode that you just saw, this huge piece in the State Museum when it was acquired, he invited a lot of people dressed up. So everything's running. But so it's really funny how he then uses a lot of these costumes and also people from the Basler Fastnacht to come into the museum and get the world out there inside the museum. Some of the radios are now playing. So let's run through that and then we go to the next space. Maybe you can hear it also. I put my microphone very close to it. This one is better to hear, perhaps. It's already running.
Hij is bezig. Oh, dat is het licht. Oh.
Ja, in de radio. Die, So I think it's time to move to the next space. So here you can really see this Rustem Rex. He's a rag picker. It's about giving a new life, a second life to everything that was disregarded so easily, so quickly by a consumer culture that was growing in the 60s. But in the other room that we're now going towards, you see that he has a different style as well. In the mid-60s, he started to spray everything black. And this gives a completely different, of course, look and feel of his work. The objet trouvé that we just saw is completely transformed. You can't see anymore often where things come from, and he also starts to create things that look like machines but are not really left over from machines. So it's this big theatrical work here. They all work, but they've just been pushed, so we can't do them right now, so you have to come back for that.
Gaat het ook bewegen?
Ja, maar het says elke 15 minuten. Maar je kunt het proberen. Sorry for the Dutch. Ja, push. So you have to wait. Yeah, you can sit for 10 minutes, wait, and then... This is one of my favorite rooms. Pontus Hulten, the director of Moderna Museum, was super jealous of the De la Bie exhibition in '62 in the Stedelijk Museum. And for 4 years long, he kept on writing Tinguely, like, please do one in Moderna Museum as well. And that became this huge installation in 1966. Hon an Kathedraal, she a cathedral. And what I've done here is use all the leftovers, although there weren't many, because the thing is also, as De la Bie, it should be destructed and was not meant to be collected or had to become transformed into an art object. But there was still the maquette. And also there is a magazine later produced because it was super popular. And I really like this magazine also. It gives a thick book almost with all the photographs and also all kinds of contextual articles written about it. For me, it's also an illustration of the love between Niki de Saint-Phalle and Tinguely. Because in this particular project, of course, at first glance, you may think that it is mainly Niki de Saint-Phalle. But Tinguely, together with her and Per Oudveld, worked on it. Tinguely often also makes the bigger construction for Niki de Saint-Phalle's bigger projects. She also has this tarot garden in Italy where Tinguely often was. And on the other way around, Niki, who was much more famous and also had more money, financed a lot of bigger projects for Tinguely. So it was about co-creation. And I'd like to show that here because it's a project that still a lot of students are very fascinated by it, same as for Dillaby in the Stedelijk Museum. And the Stedelijk, together with Moderne Museet and Tinguely Museum and the VU University, we organized a big conference on these two Dillaby shows, or these dynamic labyrinths, on the 3rd and the 4th of February. So if you're interested in the academical research on this project and the Dillaby, please come. Oh yeah, and then Niki de Saint-Phalle also had a show in the Stedelijk Museum in the late 60s, and then we acquired this big head. And I put it here because then you can see the materiality of the hon. Also, the hon itself had a very small head. But yeah, it was also restored for this, and I really think it suits well in this particular place. Perhaps you can hear now, they put down the whole head in the... Oh, you just missed it on the video. But the deconstruction of the whole project, that is also part of the whole installation. So it's not just about a mini museum, a crazy environment with a fish tank in it, a cinema. There was, when you entered the vagina of the hon, there was a big machine of Tinguely smashing Coca-Cola bottles, but it was all temporary. Everything was demolished afterwards. So then Tinguely starts working on culture stations. His fascination for dynamic labyrinth stays, but he wants to move out of the museum and have his own new forms of architecture that are a combination between a museum, a cinema, a theme park, a Luna Park. And here you see an early maquette of 1968 called Gigantoleum. It was never realized. But later on, in the late 60s, they think we can do this in the woods. It was near Fontainebleau in Paris. It's called the Monster in the Woods at first, and later on it became Le Cyclope. All the drawings and the maquettes are here. There's early maquette. Again, you see also the hand of Niki de Saint-Phalle also in it. And, but later in the 70s, the whole outlook was changed, and there's another maquette here, because Niki de Saint-Phalle suddenly decided that it should be all covered with mirrors. And this is also the way it looks like now. You can visit the Cyclope every summer, I think from May to September or something. And there you see how these dynamic labyrinths work. It's co-creation. There's a lot of artists working on it, and every summer they came together and totally not very efficient. That's very nice because you see it also in the movies that Loginbuhl, which is a good friend and colleague in these projects for Tinguely, he always filmed every summer what was happening. So you can, in a way, see the whole process. And they're having so much fun. Here you see the whole construction. But I got another video where in '76, Niki de Saint-Phalle documented or filmed a crazy film. Here you see Tinguely with the daughter of Niki de Saint-Phalle. Tinguely crazily, this is Loginbuhl, by the way. And there were just, this whole film is totally absurd. They were only playing, and all kinds of works from his past also make a reappearance. Absurdity, dreamlike, surrealist, you could say. But for me, it most of all illustrates that this Cyclope, which is now here sort of the stage for this film, was not about something very efficient and something that was from this society. It was a sort of outside society. And the assistant of Tinguely, who worked here with us, who's still alive and who worked here with us, during the installment of the show, he explained when he was working there, there was food for 2 years there, and there were guns because they were always afraid that the Third World War would break out, and then they could live, all the artists that mattered would go to the Cyclope and live there. So here you can see also this big phallus, which, if you have seen the first tour, is also in 1970 a big installation that Tinguely made in Milan. And yeah, I think I really like these totally absurd layers of his work. Just now to go towards the last part of the show, and then I'm skipping a bit of some very nice drawings and publications that if you visit, you should definitely take time to see, because he's absolutely the most amazing drawer also. How can you say that? A drawer? No, you can say that. He's a great drawing artist, perhaps. Okay, I will now give you an introduction to the last and final section of this exhibition, which is about death. And I think Tinguely, of course, is about playfulness and cheerfulness, but there's another side in his work as well. That is about explosions, about something that is ephemeral, but also very much about death. And that started to become larger and larger, a theme in his work in the 80s. In 85, he got a severe heart attack, and for 3 months he couldn't do anything. And around that period, a farm, some farms away from where he had his studio, burned down to the ground. And he went there to look at what was left there, and he saw all this twisted metal, and he saw death animals, and he saw the name Mengele on the machines. And the family of the Nazi Mengele was into these aquatic things, aquatic machines, and but for him it was the whole. It made him return to the theme of the Holocaust, and he decided to make this huge altar piece called Mengele Totentanz. And it was amazing that we could have that from the Tinguely Museum, because the Tinguely Museum is, well, this is their biggest, the most important piece, and they were not saying, no, you can't, never, ever, we cannot let that travel. So I'm like super proud that we got it in the end, together with Kunstpalast. We made this show together with Kunstpalast. Because it's amazing. It shows you that he is not only this funny artist, but that he has all these more serious layers in his work as well. Just because we're going now slowly towards this machine, I wanted to say that Tinguely, of course, was very famous in his time and in Switzerland. And he even got, when he died in the end himself in 91, he got a state funeral. So it was no Vincent van Gogh that just like was dying somewhere and nobody noticed. This was state funeral, and he had his machines also out there. It was on live television. The schools were closed. And this shows you how, I think, important also he was in that time. And I really hope that with this exhibition also, that we've shown the many facets and the wide tender of works and strategies that he has been producing throughout his life. I now want to go to the last of the Mengele Totentanz, to have this big closing work. And it's not running right now, but I hope that soon we can push the button and that it will work. Can I be seen? It's too dark probably, or not. Can I be seen like here? Because then we're going to walk towards the button, and I really hope that it works right now. Somebody has been guarding the boat. We see that a lot with people sitting down and saying, no, this is my button. You cannot, I'm going to wait for this button to be pushed right now. It can be activated every 6 minutes, which is actually rather okay. And people are waiting right now also. So perhaps somebody else wants to push the button, which would be much more nice, right? Okay, somebody's coming. Let's see if it already runs. Yes. So all the leftovers are from this farm, but not all. I mean, in the middle, there is an animal that definitely was not present on a farm. Megan, what is a nijlpaard in English? Nijlpaard?
Oh,
Hippo.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a hippo. So, so he added some things.
Yeah, okay. I think this you don't know it.
Nee, ja. So it's quite an intense moment, but then if you come back here after next weekend, you can run through to the Jordan Wolfson exhibition, which I think is a sort of contemporary Tinguely and about robots, about mechanization. Very scary, I think even more scary than this work. But you can also choose to go out here through the curtains and you come back into the entrance area where there is light. And these chandeliers are from the same period as these dark installations that you've just seen. So it is in a way sort of Jekyll and Hyde. There's many sides to what he produces. And I'm really happy that we could show all this wide variety in this exhibition. And I hope that you will come and come again if you've already seen the show. Are there questions, Saskia, or not?
No, but people love the way you present it. You get a lot of thanks.
Okay, good. Okay, well, we're going to do this one more time together with the person who worked with Tinguely. That's going to be in January, I think. So we will be back then, and we talk a lot about the cyclope and about also the restoration problems of these works. And well, I hope to see you back then. Bye.